These are this afternoon's top stories. Former Governor of the ECCB, Sir Kenneth Dwight Venner, dead at age 70. Meat from European countries temporarily banned in Barbados. And Rohingya abused by soldiers sparks diplomatic tension. Good afternoon. Welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Friday, the 23rd of December 2016. I am Shaira Flanders. Nationally, former Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Sir Kenneth Dwight Vincent Venner, KBE SLC, died on Thursday, December 22nd in St. Lucia. According to information, Venner, who resided in St. Kitts and served the ECCB for over 20 years, passed away at Tepion Hospital Thursday night. After 26 years of dedicated service to the ECCB, Sir K. Dwight Venner announced in December his move to retire from the St. Kitts and Nevis-based institution. In 2012, he received the St. Lucia Cross for outstanding contribution to economics and finance. Prior to his service at ECCB, Sir Dwight was Director of Finance and Planning in the government of St. Lucia from 1981 to 1989. Sir Venner wrote and published extensively in the areas of monetary and international economics, central banking, public finance, economic development, political economy, and international economic relations. The Honorable Sir Kenneth Dwight Vincent Venner leaves his wife Linda A. Winville Venner and their 7 children. Sir Kenneth Dwight Vincent Venner, KBE SLC, was 70 years old. The Mary Child's Hospital in Molyneux held its Christmas program on December 22nd, 2016 under the theme One Christmas Born. The program was attended by several government officials from the Ministry of Health, including Minister of Health, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, Minister of State with responsibility for health, Senator the Honorable Wendy Phipps, and Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, in giving the feature address, reflected on the Christmas season, highlighting its universal nature.
This is the season of Christmas. It is supposed to be one of the more joyous ones among all nations of the world that share in common a belief in the Christian faith. And though on one hand, some of the celebrations have become commercialized, the true meaning of Christmas still is there. Whether we want to feel it or not, the meaning of Christmas is still there.
Minister of State, the Honorable Phipps, said that the Ministry of Health, perhaps more than other ministries, gives an opportunity to show Christ to the rest of the world in terms of the care that health practitioners give to patients.
What you might think is a simple job that you'd come in and day out, day after day and do, might be simple in your eyes, but maybe the way in which you render that job, the service that you carry out, might be the only opportunity for Christ that somebody sees. Because perhaps maybe it's only when they're in a place like this, the hospital or a health center, you get to see what compassion is all about.
The program was punctuated by several renditions from the staff of the Keyon, Tabernacle and Molyneux Health Centers, the Mary Child's Hospital staff. The program was chaired by Dr. Garfield Alexander, who was once attached to the Mary Child's Hospital. After the program, the health officials and Prime Minister Harris visited the patients at the hospital, delivering gifts to them. St. Kitts and Nevis' Minister of Labour, Honorable Vance Amory, has encouraged local agricultural workers to consider expanding their work experience by participating in the annual Canada/Caribbean Seasonal Agriculture Workers Program, or CCSAWP, expected to commence in March of 2017. At a review of the 2016 season on Tuesday, December 20th, with participating workers, the Premier of Nevis, Honorable Amory, said that he knows persons in Nevis who participated in the seasonal program in the past who did fairly well and recommended it to other persons.
Here is an opportunity to provide for yourselves employment, meaningful and gainful employment in a country which requires your energy and your resource, your labor. I believe that we could have more people if we make a greater effort to advertise, to acquaint those who may need this type of employment in Canada of the benefits of the program.
He said among those benefits are the opportunity to live in a foreign country for about 6 months, the ability to earn higher wages in a foreign currency, learning about a different culture, and forming new relationships. Minister Amory added that the Department of Labor has been informed of new changes to the CCSAWP that will affect participants in 2017. These include workers paying for their own airfare and visa to travel to Canada rather than sharing the cost with farmers. Senior Minister Amory said the government will share the feedback of the workers about this new arrangement.
I assure you that having informed you of the changes, or having discussed with you the changes which will come, that the officers of the Ministry of Labor and the Department of Labor, with my support, will do whatever we can to ensure that you are able to participate in the 2017 program. Althea
Paris, the administrator of the CCSAWP in the Department of Labor, said the concerns of every worker who participated in the 2016 season will be investigated where necessary and passed back to officials in Canada with a view to enhance the workers' experience. 20 persons participated in the CCSAWP in 2016. Meanwhile, 11-year-old Tehran Invincible Webb is the back-to-back champion of the primary school's Calypso competition held on Thursday evening. The defending monarch of Nevis won the competition with his song As the World Turns. The young Calypsonian beat out competitors including Desan Herbert, Devonique Liebert, Jashia Donovan, Ziquan McDowell, Marquise Washington, and Kimberly Smichel for the top spot. The primary school's Calypso competition was held at the Sugar Mass Village around the circus in downtown Bastille. And on to the regional scene, Barbados has temporarily banned meat products and eggs coming from the United Kingdom or UK and members of the European Union EU. The restrictions on the importation of all live birds, hatching eggs, fresh, frozen and chilled poultry meat and products, including table eggs, follow the confirmation of outbreaks of highly pathogenic avian influenza or HPAI H5N8 in poultry farms in England. In addition, personal imports of all fresh or cooked poultry products, with the exception of fully cooked products in tightly sealed packages, are restricted entry from the UK and European Union as a whole. All permits previously issued have been revoked with immediate effect. However, the Barbados Ministry of Agriculture's Veterinary Services Department said import restrictions do not apply to processed products and byproducts that have been processed. This includes heat-treated products to ensure the destruction of the bird flu virus. Meanwhile, St. Lucia's National Security Minister Herman Guild-Francis decries the spate of shootings in the country after reports of the latest homicide. We hear more in this HTS News St. Lucia report.
The National Security Minister noted that it does not matter who is killed, but rather every slaying should be viewed as a tragic loss of another St. Lucian life. According to the minister, this is unacceptable, and he plans to meet with the Commissioner of Police to find ways to curb the scourge. However, one thing weighs heavily on Francis's mind: the proliferation of illegal firearms on the city's streets.
Well, the police are doing the very best. Up to yesterday, the police recovered a 9mm with about 200 or 300 rounds of ammunition. That's my information. And the individual had almost 300,000 or 400,000 euro in his possession. So we understand the dilemma, and the police are working exceedingly hard to make sure that we deal with this matter. What I must say too is that when these guys are brought before the court, and especially for bail, that the magistrates and them must look at the severity of this matter with the gun and make sure that we send a message out there.
St. Lucia's latest homicide victim was reportedly known to police. The National Security Minister says a coherent plan is needed to deal with repeat offenders. He believes that there is an inherent weakness in the criminal justice system.
Again, that's what I'm telling you, there's a revolving circle. I'm not too sure who the individual is, but when we do look at these matters and we investigate it, it's just the repeat offenders, and it is worrying that we need to find a way of keeping these persons incarcerated or monitored so that they don't do this sort of crime as openly and as brazenly as they do.
Meanwhile, Francis lauded the recruitment of additional city constables to beef up security in the Castries. The word of commendation comes in the wake of a foiled mugging Tuesday of a couple who were visiting the island on a cruise ship.
Onto the international scene, a dashboard camera has captured the moment a truck plowed into a Berlin Christmas market on Monday, killing 12 people. The driver, believed to be 24-year-old Tunisian Anis Amri, remains on the run. Here's more.
This is the moment of the onslaught, taken from a taxi dashboard camera, sudden and brutal. Amri had been on the run since Monday night and is currently the most wanted man in Europe. His family in Tunisia was stunned when they heard the news.
We were shocked just as we were when the terrorist attacks happened in Tunisia and France. No human being wishes for something like this to happen. Anis never told us about his life or who he was as a person. When he left Tunisia, he was a normal person. He drank alcohol and didn't even pray. He had no religious beliefs.
Prosecutors say the evidence from the truck suggests Amri carried out the attack, and the search for him is intensifying. There were police raids in Berlin and in northwestern Germany, in the region where Amri had registered his claim for asylum. But there is criticism over how the authorities have been caught out by the attack. Even allies of Chancellor Angela Merkel are questioning the effectiveness of German immigration laws. While the cabinet has approved plans to introduce increased surveillance of public spaces nationwide, the cameras won't be switched on for some time. There is growing anger at how authorities had failed to prevent this attack. Amri had been under surveillance for several months, and his activities had prompted police to seek his deportation. But despite the manhunt, Anis Amri is still at large. Sonia Gallego, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
Myanmar is resisting calls to allow independent monitors into northern Rakhine State, where its soldiers have been accused of committing abuse against the Rohingya minority. More in this report.
Kutupalong Camp, Bangladesh, where many Rohingya have lived, since around 200,000 of them fled Myanmar in late 1991. The Muslim ethnic minority said they're being persecuted by security forces there. Myanmar does not recognize the Rohingya and sees them as illegal migrants, despite many having lived there for generations. In recent weeks, there's been a new influx of refugees. The UN estimates as many as 27,000 Rohingya have crossed into Bangladesh. It follows a military crackdown, launched after attacks on border posts killed police guards in October. The new arrivals tell of atrocities committed by Myanmar soldiers. Some don't want to be identified for fear of repercussions.
After they burned our houses and stole our valuables, they came back the next day to rape us, and then they killed our men.
This teenager tells us how his father was killed.
My dad was running to an alley near our house when he came across some soldiers. They caught him and slit his throat. They left his body there.
The UN has said it receives daily reports of killings and rapes in northern Rakhine State. Here in Malaysia, government leaders condemn the violence, with the Prime Minister going so far as to call it genocide against the Rohingya minority. Indonesian leaders too expressed their concerns about a growing crisis that could potentially destabilize the region. The criticism was unusual because Southeast Asian nations have traditionally refrained from commenting on each other's internal affairs. It prompted Myanmar to agree to allow what it described as necessary humanitarian access to affected areas. But independent rights monitors are still not allowed, and the army has imposed a near-total lockdown in northern Rakhine State. For the Rohingya, their situation remains unchanged, stateless and persecuted, with nowhere to call home. Florence Louis, Al Jazeera, Kuala Lumpur.
And now for today's weather. Present weather is partly cloudy. Winds are moderate from the northeast at 10 miles per hour. Seas are rough with waves up to 9 feet. A warning remains in place for small craft operators and sea bathers. Expect partly sunny to cloudy conditions today with a high chance of brief passing showers. Isolated heavy showers are also possible. Tonight is expected to be cloudy with a high chance of some showers. Sunset today will be at 5:44 p.m. and the sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:37 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Shaira Flanders. Have a good one.